Hi, this is Sapnil Bhartia, and welcome to another episode of TFR Insights. Traditionally, if you look, security is always seen as an afterthought by developers. I mean, of course, they should not be paying attention to security. They just want to build exciting features into their applications. But things have kind of changed in the cloud native world, where security is among the biggest kind of not only challenges but also priorities. There is a whole paradigm, DevSecOps there. It has also become a critical piece of whole CI/CD pipeline. To discuss not only this change in attitude towards security in the cloud native world, and also what tools, what technologies there are at the disposal of developers so that they can ensure that their workloads are secure. To discuss all of these topics today, we have with us Amir Ofek, CEO of Alcide. Alcide is a company that specializes in Kubernetes securities and provides a single Kubernetes-native AI-driven security platform for Kubernetes. First of all, Amir, thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about Alcide. What does the company do? When was it created? What problem you saw in the market that you're trying to solve?
So exactly as you gave kind of the high level, I think the main aspect that Alcide solves is this bridging between security and DevOps. Those are two different mindsets that need this bridging or bridges to be built, and that's exactly what we do at Alcide. Alcide was founded 4 years ago with that concept in mind of addressing the cloud native world with security means, and more specifically with Kubernetes and Istio. So we identify Kubernetes and Istio as the forward-going technologies that are going to prevail. And as we see today, COVID is really proving that. And those two technologies, open source based, are very flawed from security perspective. And that's exactly what we come to address. We come to fill that gap that exists in Kubernetes adoption to add security means and security measures in place.
Excellent for explaining that. You mentioned open source, and open source is kind of something very, very critical to this world. And at TFI also, that is our core focus. Can you talk a bit about how much, when it comes to open source, and we look at you said Alcide, not LCD, right?
The name Alcide is actually Hercules in French Latin. So it's the protector of the cloud.
Talk a bit about how much open source is Alcide leveraging. Are you contributing? Are you involved to any open source project? Or if there are some core components of Alcide that are also open source?
Sure. So first, we're leveraging on Kubernetes, and we of course monitor the Kubernetes native aspects. We add on top of that also our proprietary capabilities of monitoring any kind of gaps and flaws within Kubernetes. We are also launched earlier this year, just around actually COVID, giving back to the developers community our own open source tool set. It's called SCAN. SKAN. And what SCANs brings in terms of open source is a bunch of tools for DevOps to do early development checks, whether it is Helm chart scanning, whether it is RBAC control policy scanning, and we're continuously enhancing it. So we are proud to be contributing back to the developers community through that.
Now let's talk about the ecosystem. As I was mentioning earlier, that security used to be an afterthought. It was not a primary concern. How much has changed in the cloud native world, and what is the? I mean, I still remember even 2 years ago, security was not a talk. But last year when we went to KubeCon, there are a lot of sessions about security, because it was still in evaluation stage. Kubernetes now is getting into production, and that's where the company was. So I want your insight, your kind of high level overview. What has changed that suddenly security is a critical piece of somebody's CI/CD pipeline?
Sure. So I think there's two main things that brought security, I would say, to the front of the Kubernetes ecosystem. One is the picking up of Kubernetes adoption. So the more and more there's Kubernetes adoption, it's becoming a necessity or an underlying foundation for the cloud. And once you have a new foundation, security teams are obligated to ensure that that new foundation that is no longer just a side gig, no longer just a sandbox, it's now becoming in the mainstream of the organization. Security team are obliged to make sure that that main, I would say, main infrastructure is protected and is secured. And we all know that Kubernetes was not designed with the security first or security approached concept for the right reason. Kubernetes is not a security tool. Kubernetes is an enablement tool. It's an orchestration tool. But there are gaps now that more and more organizations need to fill in because they cannot allow such a critical infrastructure within their cloud to be insecure. This is one. The second one is coming more from the threat perspective. So threat actors find actually Kubernetes as almost a safe haven to attack through. Kubernetes is an open gate. It's open for all. The default usually in Kubernetes is that everybody is authorized to do everything. So there's no privileges and no limitation on access for a good reason of making it very efficient and very easy to deploy, etc., and very collaborative. But for threat actors, it's actually becoming a safe haven. And if you look now in COVID times, with more and more organizations adopting to the cloud, and they want to adapt to the cloud in a fast manner, and they want to do it in a very efficient way, so cost is a major issue these days, Kubernetes is the way to do it. Whether you are on EKS, whether you are on GKE, whether you are on OpenShift, you want to make sure that you adopt to the cloud in a fast way, and the way to do it is Kubernetes. Threat actors realize that as well. They see now Kubernetes as a very good place to get to the organization through and to get to all of the cloud assets, to PCI information, to PII information. And that's what makes all of a sudden the spotlight on security in Kubernetes.
When we talk about cloud native world, it's not just one vendor, one solution. Companies or users, they are bringing in different tools. They are even leveraging different clouds. That's why we have whole multi-cloud story. That's why they're mixing the data center with the cloud. That's why we have hybrid cloud story. So ecosystem plays a very critical role. So when it comes to security, do you work with other players in the space? If you do, who do you work with? Can you talk a bit about that partnership, the relationship that you have?
Absolutely. Very, very good point. I think multi-cloud is something that we will see coming forward. And that's definitely one of the areas that we at Alcide gear our platform to address. So we address multi-cloud. We work with all of the major cloud providers. And that's why we're so happy now that we onboarded also with OpenShift as another cloud provider. But the second point that you mentioned is even more crucial, of really being part of the ecosystem of Kubernetes. I'm a big believer of ecosystem and partnerships. And just over the last 9 months, we've built very strong partnerships with other players in the Kubernetes ecosystem. So from one hand, SIEM providers that are doing monitoring for security on the traditional infrastructure, they are now exposed to the whole world of Kubernetes, and we fill for them that gap. So we have built integrations with companies like Splunk, like Sumo Logic, integrations with Azure Sentinel, and other SIEM-like products, as well as also CI/CD pipeline tools. So we have integrations with all of the common CI/CD tools like Azure DevOps, CircleCI, Jenkins, GitLab, etc., with the concept of making it easier for DevOps people to consume security aspects within their procedures, within their day-to-day operation. So we are not coming to kind of create a new process or to break the current way of DevOps doing their thing, but to provide them guardrails within their space. And the last aspect of integrations that we have built is also for platform owners or for SREs. So we've built integrations with products like Datadog, and we're now in discussions with New Relic. We are on the marketplace of Snowflake as another interesting integration for storage management. And all of that is through this idea of building integrations that can make it easier for people that are not security operators or not security personnel to actually consume or care about security within their kind of home turf.
Do you have any kind of, of course, companies, people can use whatever they want. But do you have any ties to actually enable developers to be kind of vetted or have some kind of validation or certification that, hey, you know what, yes, you are entitled to do this?
Yes. So we have a few of those certifications in place. We have recently got the certification from AWS for container certified. So we are kind of certified by AWS. We have also received recently a certification from OpenShift with the integration of OpenShift. So today, a user of OpenShift can, within a click button, leverage the Alcide security to come and kick in and know that it is a certified solution to monitor and detect both known and unknown threats within the OpenShift infrastructure, and to allow implementation of those detection measures certified by OpenShift.
What is the importance of such certification? What is the value it brings to the ecosystem?
I think the value that it brings, it's first from the cloud provider perspective. So let's take OpenShift as an example, is for them to acknowledge the new kind of solution that they are bringing. Maybe it's a company that is yet small but has an innovative kind of cutting edge technology that was vetted by OpenShift. So that means a lot to a customer. A customer knows already that solution and that product is already something Red Hat OpenShift has looked into, has vetted. So it's solid, it's not going to crack, and it's going to do what it's supposed to do. It's going to do the security measure. And then the other thing from our perspective, to know that there is this backing of Red Hat OpenShift gives us access to their entire marketplace. So the ability really for their customers to enjoy the value add of security that Alcide brings to the table, and the ability to detect those kind of threats on Kubernetes is something that we would not be able to do on ourselves. So it brings, I would say, much more value add to the whole marketplace
Awesome.
concept.
Amir, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule and sitting down here or standing up. We don't know in the virtual room
I'm
whether you're
sitting.
and talk to me today. And because security is really critical, and as you mentioned that the more we are moving into that, the abnormalities or anomalies are like kind of increasing. So it's really hard, and it's also critical because we need to stay functional. Our life literally depends on IT. Everything that we eat in this house is through some app that we order, because we are not going out physically. But
Even your food
yeah,
is dependent on
but
ordering it online.
exactly. I wish there was a 3D. I have a 3D printer. There was a 3D printer where I can just print the food. I'm sure it will happen in 10 years from now. You can print food at home. But the point is that I would love to talk to you again, because security is really critical in today's world. So once again, Amir, thanks for your time. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you. Stay safe.